When was the last time you took a decision in favor of young people? Was it this morning, when you chose the temperature of your chilled milk? Or a week ago, when you decided of the location of your family holidays? Or a month ago, when you refused your son to go out because of his bad report card? A year ago, when you promoted this young woman to a job she didn't really want, and since she has resigned. Making a decision for youth has many, many characteristics and many effects as well. Not just on an individual side, but also on the society, like a system. So please now, close your eyes. Yes, close your eyes. Everybody can close, even the panelists, please. And imagine the following thing. What if we decide to let young people lead the world? How do you feel? Sophie, you are not closing your eyes. I see you. How do you feel? Hello, new people. You have to close your eyes and to imagine the following things. What if we decide to let young people lead the world? How do you feel? Vertigo? Excitement? Pure utopia? Full of hope? You can open your eyes now. And let's take an hour to discuss about that because, as you know, the topic of this summit is decision. I hope that at the end of this session, we will have taken all a decision. I'm Elsa da Costa Grangier, I'm the director of Ashoka France, and I have the honor to moderate this panel with my fantastic and exceptional panelists, known all over the world, or just after this session they will be. So first is Gilles Vermeaux-Desroches, Senior VP Corporate Citizenship for Schneider Electric. Boris Razon, Editorial Director of Arte France, this European public media. Baudouin Baudru, Deputy Head of Unit Health, Education and Culture at the European Commission. Maël Roudot, founder of Quid Media, media dedicated to environmental issues and solutions, and you created a pedagogical kit for teachers to help them teaching environmental issues. Yes? With a systemic approach at elementary school and your Ashoka Young Changemaker. Victor Kelikini, 7 years ago, you founded your NGO, All for Trees, fighting against deforestation, and you're founder of Relais des Jeunes, we will talk about that later, and you're a student in environment, and you're also Ashoka Young Changemaker. Thank you for being there. Thank you. And now we want to know more about you in the audience. I have several questions to ask you, and when you recognize yourself, please raise your hand or even stand up. As a disclaimer, don't take my question personally. Who is under 30? Please stand up. Who is under 30 in the room? Okay, thank you. Don't take it personally. Why are you there? It's because you are wondering what could be the best way to amplify voices of young people? Thank you. Because you want to connect it to young changemakers? Because you would like to remain young? Or because you're absolutely fan of Gilles Vermeaux-Desroches, Maël Roudot, Boris Razon, Baudouin Baudru, Victor Kelikini, or me? No. I tried. Okay, let's... Thank you. Some gratitude shower, it's always Always nice. So, first question for you, Baudouin. You are Deputy Head of Unit Health, Education and Culture, as I said before, for the European Commission. And we are still in what you called the year of youth at a European level. What have you learned over this year, and how can we explain the record of abstention rates of young people over the last different election, when more and more young people are involved in association, in the civil life? What is the problem with this expression of citizenship at a European level?
Yes, it's an essential question that the Commission is asking itself every day, because a political project like the European Union must be built up with the young generation, of course. And it's also the reason why Ursula von der Leyen last year in the Parliament in September, presenting her State of the Union speech, announced that she would like that 2022 would become the European Year of Youth. Also because we are just going out slowly, we are still not yet totally out, the COVID crisis. And of course, a bit later, what happened in Ukraine has totally changed the geopolitical context of Europe. But back to the youth and why the youth is considered as not being motivated anymore to vote. Actually, when you organize interviews, you have this impression that indeed the young people are not anymore interested in what I would call the classical democratic system, where you vote for people who will represent you, form a majority against an opposition, and decide of a government program, etc. On the other hand, we see also that young people are very, very active in different ways, being member of a volunteering organization, of youth organization, going on the streets just to say, no, enough is enough. What's going on with the climate now, it's really our future that is at stake. And then we can think, okay, election is not for the young people anymore. But when you organize a survey, like the Eurobarometer flash survey of the beginning of this year, in the framework of the European Year of Youth, you get a slightly different picture. Actually, there were two main questions in particular that I identified. The first indicator that says that the European Year of Youth would be a success. What would it be for the young participant? And what they say is that the decision makers are listening to the young people and act on what the young people tell to them. And the second question is what the youth consider most effective to let their voice heard. And the first answer, with 39%, is voting for local, national, and European elections. That means that maybe our impression is not totally right, but we should probably develop more and more the kind of citizens' participative systems, like the Conference on the Future of Europe, like other convention on the climate in France and in Ireland, etc., just to give more space, public space for the youth to express themselves and to articulate a little bit their vision on the future. Therefore, the European Year of Youth, we think in the Commission, was a good approach. We have reached out to 150 million people, not only young people, but 150 million, it's a lot, not only physically, also online. And I think we have to combine the new form of active citizen participation, but still to organize elections, because otherwise you cannot implement what you have decided to promote. And I think one aspect, very concrete one, and I stop there, is that the young people should also engage not only by going to vote, but also as being candidate for being elected. One question to you: how many members of European Parliament are younger than 30 years old?
Let's play true or false. Do you want Baudouin? Because I have something for
you
the
have
people.
that?
Yeah,
okay.
I have that.
So I come back to that.
No, but we can play now.
Yeah?
Let's play true or false. You agree? Okay. Here's the question. You're going to see in the screen. 50% of the world's population are under 30, compared to 2.6% of the world parliamentarians are under 30. Oh. Is it true for you, or is it false? Raise your hand if it's true. Raise your hand if it's false. You're so great, because it's true. And I think it's exactly where you wanted to go.
Yeah, there are 6 members of parliament out of 750 who are younger than 30 years old. So in this context, it's difficult, of course, to have people who are just speaking on behalf of the youth in the European Parliament, even if the European Parliament is doing a lot. That's not the question. But I think we have to take, I'm sorry, I count myself among the young, but we have to take our destiny in our hands as well,
proactively. Sure. But we have a problem with the representation, I think. Maël, you are a changemaker, also a student in journalism. It's a place where we can talk about representation, I think. And currently you are intern in the Huffington Post redaction, newsroom. You speak as a young person committed to environment as well, but also as a future observer of the world because of your journalism study. How do you perceive the representation of young people in the media? And you recognize yourself?
Is it working? Yes.
Yeah.
I think the representation of youth in media is based on 2 things. The first one is very simple, is how you give youth a voice in media, interviewing them, giving them the space to express their ideas, and above all, taking them very seriously when they are talking. And the second thing is more interesting, I think, is how you give the space to topics that are important for us, the youth. For example, climate change. It's a thing we are working on, actually. And it's already the case in digital media because they have a young audience, but not so the case in traditional medias. So just imagine what will happen if those topics who are close to young people are in the traditional media, are bring in the traditional media that are watched, listened, read by other generations. I think we should really, yes,
the older generation,
yes, yes, older generation, and I think we really should work on bringing the ideas, the worries, and concern of young people in this type of media, because it's also why I choose to, as a young journalist, to focus my work on the environment, and I'm really happy when I see, for example, an environmental topic in the front page of a newspaper, because I think it can really change things.
Thank you, Maël. Gilles? Companies are extremely challenged by citizens these days, and by young people in particular. They are very much in demand on social and environmental responsibility and commitment coming from the companies. Many actions are put in place to try to solve this issue and to be attractive for young people, because it's a key point, I think. How is Schneider Electric advancing on this subject, and does it also influence the place of young people into the governance of your company?
Thank you. First, I'm young for longer than some others. I think with your question, I can have 2 very different answers. The first question for me, it's for Schneider Electric, the question is, how do we make the difference? We are 150,000 people. More than 30 people in this 150,000 people are less than 30. And each year, in a community like Schneider Electric community, we recruit close to 10,000 people. Because Schneider Electric is very committed to organize a shift to electricity and the shift to green electricity at the worldwide level, it's not very difficult to attract people who are very committed for environment and planet. It's certainly more complex to retain these people for a long time. Because it's true that when we are a company very involved, I was in charge of sustainability for 25 years in Schneider Electric, 25 years. At the beginning in 1998, I don't ask you if you are here, until 2021, when Schneider Electric was nominated the first sustainable company at the worldwide level, and many other award on price to have a great noise for Schneider Electric, which is very important to attract people and to give, okay, we have in this direction. But after that, when we are in charge of HR, finance, sales, marketing, you are in this business, and it's not very easy to see which type of impact we have. My first question is, if we would like to make the difference for tomorrow, we need to be innovative. If we want to be innovative, we need to have youth. I don't know if you know that, but Einstein, when he
was young?
When he was new, when it was the time of E equal MC square, Pasteur for the vaccine, and you know that for Bill Gates, Steve Jobs. Each time, they were less than 30 years. When we are speaking about vision, theoretical vision, Nobel Prize, it's more with people close to my age. When we are speaking about the people who are able to change something in the manner to live, to eat, or to organize transportation, or many things, there are very often people between 20 and 30. If a company would like to be innovative for tomorrow, we need to have youth, we need to be attractive, and today, to be attractive, especially about the youth who are committed for the future of the planet, who are sure that we are able together to change the story of climate change, we need to be committed as a company is a full ESG questions, not only environment, and it's why today my job is in charge, you have that, I'm corporate citizenship senior vice president of Schneider Electric. Why? It's because for us, when we are speaking in 2022 about sustainability, in general, we are speaking about carbon and climate. Sure, it's the topic of the century. But if we take care only to this topic, and not about the human transitions, and not about the transition of Schneider Electric people with the refresh of their skills or the ability to change the people and not only the solutions, certainly that will be not the good way to accelerate the transition. It's why we use this word citizenship. It's more global than only sustainability, because today sustainability, it's only about climate. I know that climate is the topic of the century, but it's not enough to be innovative in terms of technology. We have to take care of people and to embark people on this topic. Donc, that's my first answer about your question.
Do you have another one?
We need sorry, the second way.
Very quick one, please.
We need to increase for a company to continue to be innovative, to organize dissemination of the vision, commitment, and so on, to have a lot of youth and to choose the youth who are very committed about this topic. And it's why we have a specific KPI in Schneider Electric to double between 2020 and 2025 the number of youth who are in internship, apprenticeship, and PhD in Schneider Electric at the worldwide level. The second topic, and I will speak more about this second topic after, we are not alone. Just today, we are in a time where the number of people between 15 and 25 is the biggest in the history of the world, more than 1.5 billion people. And if we don't take care to the youth who are at the bottom of the pyramid, in developing countries, or if we are not here close to these people to transfer skills, to embark these people in the place where we are now, certainly the future will be very bad for everybody, at the first level for these people, but at the end for all the people. We are all in the same planet and only one planet. And it's why Schneider Electric is very committed to transfer skills to people at the bottom of the pyramid everywhere. We have such type of people in each society in Belgium, in France, and so on. I can have a lot of examples, but it's true in South Africa, South America, and in Asia. And we have a strong goals together, a challenge. And today it's Giving Tuesday, where we involve in a lot of Schneider Electric people, because it's not a question of youth only, it's a question of intergeneration, mentorship, where we win all together. And the second goal, to be precise, not only to speak, we would like to train 1 million people at the bottom of the pyramid before 2025. It's more than 150,000 people each year in more than 400 commitments. Patricia, who is here, is in charge of that with some other people in my team. And I think we need to have these two actions, not only to be very dedicated to have a strong relationship with the youth, very involved for the future on the planet, not only to have a caritative vision or responsible vision of the youth, both to be reinforced.
Wow. Thank you. So keep in mind that young people need to be heard and seen. So, Boris, do you want to be innovative? As Gilles said before, that means, do you want to include more young people? Arte is a European media, extremely committed into the narrative of a society movement, especially regarding the place of youth. Which young audience watches you first? And how does it feed you in your editorial line, if I can say that like that? What are your internal challenges to be at the service of youth? You have 5 minutes. No, no, just a joke.
No problem. Well, as a legacy media, we have a problem because our TV channel, the middle age of our audience is 65 years old. So they are quite old. Okay.
That's not working. Yeah.
That's not working. No.
You are not going to be heard.
The audience are not able to hear you.
Yeah, I know. That's the truth, actually. So I was saying the audience of Arte on the TV channel, the middle age is 65 years old. So as the original media, we are speaking to people who are very old. So this is the beginning of the problem, because now we developed our platform, Arte.tv. Arte.tv, the middle age of our audience is 52 years old. It's a bit better, but not very good. Therefore, we moved to YouTube, and you can find almost every documentary we produce and broadcast on YouTube. And there we have an audience who is 35 years old, 30 to 35 years old. It depends on the month. So it begins to get better. And then we are producing a lot of content, and it's really, Arte is very innovative from the beginning, and we jumped on the digital age and try to do very specific content for the social media. And then we are currently doing things on Twitch, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And there we reach an audience between 17 to 25 years old. But actually, it's really very difficult to speak the same language to everybody and to produce things with the same budget, if I can say, to every audience and we are talking to. So that's a real interesting point and a real complicated point for us. And you should add to that the fact that we see today very different expectations from young people than from older people, and very different mindset. I mean, they're not expecting, they're not seeing the world in the same way. So sometimes one of our main issue is to reconciliate those two visions and to try to say that we live in the same world actually, and we can produce content that can be used for young people and for adult people also. But for now, it's almost the case. But we see it as a very sensitive issue for next years.
Okay.
Is that an answer to your question or not?
Yes, it's a
Yeah,
fantastic answer
okay.
to my question. Thank you, Boris. So Victor, you have recently crisscrossed France by bicycle and traveled more than 3,000 kilometers during 3 months and a half. Yes, but it's not only for the fact you were riding, but also because you met people and discussed with them. You organized 20 stops in most of the big cities in France to debate and put issues of democracy, social justice, environment back to the center of the national debate. It was during the presidency campaign in France. How were you perceived when you arrived in those places?
Yes, so first of all,
Your microphone is not working.
hello. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
So first of all, we started. We've been organizing the march in Paris and France for the last 3 years, the climate strikes, and after 3 years and with the elections coming up, we just wanted to rethink the way we were striking, and we thought about something new to kind of put the attention on climate during these elections, and a new way was a very long march. Like other people did in social movements before us, and the goal was to really rethink the way we marched and go and see the people who were suffering the climate crisis and suffering social injustices, but also the people who were creating the new world, creating a sustainable world and a fair one. And so we went from migrants in Roubaix to farmers who were suffering the climate crisis or putting in place permaculture farms. And we started with the goal was to really unite the youth around these subjects and the youth all over France. And we really thought that we were gonna. It was after COVID, so we really thought we were gonna meet so many young people who are active all over France. And actually, we discovered that most of the people in the organization, the local organizations, are people twice our age, and the real youth wasn't quite there. And so we understood that, okay, maybe there's no one youth, maybe there's different youth. Of course, the majority of us, we are aware of the climate crisis, we are aware of the ecological disaster that's going on. 59% of young people, according to the Lancet Planetary Health, are considered themselves worried or very worried, extremely worried by the climate crisis. And yet we are also the youth who was born in consumerism and overconsumption and globalization, where it's easier to order something on the internet that comes from China than to go and buy a baguette at the bakery, and so we discovered that there were a lot of things we need to do with the youth. Not only we understand that there's a thing, and a lot of things loses meaning working in a company that doesn't take in consideration these stakes. Loses meaning for us, but there's also a lot of things that we have to do, and so we need to be careful when we talk about youth. Which youth we are talking in? Are we involving everybody? How do we talk about climate in places where social injustices are so big? There are a lot of stakes there.
Thank you, Victor. We feel that there is a place to cooperate between all of you, for sure, but it's not so easy, and maybe it's a key point to try to define what could be a bridge to try to avoid this it's very difficult to say. Intergenerational gap. It's easier in French, I think. So, Baudouin, more than 2/3 of people across all age groups agree that more opportunities for younger people to have a say in policy change would make a real difference and would have this system better. How does it work at your level? Is it easy for the European Commission to answer the demands of these young people, this priority, this expectation, including the fact that the consideration of young in the shaping policy could make a real difference?
Actually, there are different questions in your question. So, but I will concentrate now on the possibility for the youth to express themselves and to be heard, let's say. The way we respond afterwards to that is even more important, but I come back maybe in the third questions round. Actually, at the Commission level, we have already, before the Conference on the Future of Europe, developed a lot of entry points for citizens, but also for the youth to express their views. And in particular, regarding the youth, we have in the framework of the EU youth strategy, this what is called the youth dialogue, which is a system of a series of meetings between young participants and decision makers around, let's say, three main kind of objectives, which are engage, connect, and empower the youth, discussing about 11 priorities that the youth itself has selected, like mental health and well-being, like inclusiveness in society, quality learning, and so forth. These discussions are really leading to specific orientations in policy making in the Commission. It is feeding actually the reflection leading to what we call the annual work programs of the Commission. As you know, I think you are more or less aware about the fact that the Commission in the European Union governance is the institution which is actually proposing things. So our role is essential because the Parliament and the Council cannot propose policy initiative. The Commission is doing that. So the way we are consulting the youth is essential indeed, and the way we are taking account of what they have said is essential. So we have developed before and during the European Year of Youth different instruments, different platforms, such as the Youth Talks, the Have Your Say portal, the European Youth portal, Voice Your Vision digital platform by which the young participant can organize a discussion among themselves and publish all that in a structured way, of course, so that something comes out very clearly at the end of the discussion. And we have organized this year, on the request of the President's Cabinet, 26 policy dialogue between each member of the Commission, except the President, and a group of young participants representing the European diversity, but even beyond that. For instance, this morning I attended a policy dialogue of such a group with Commissioner Urpilainen, responsible for international partnership, and we had around the table also young people from Zimbabwe and Ethiopia, and it was very dynamic. And so actually the outcome of that for each commissioner is not to reply to the question of the young participant, it's to identify which solutions they are proposing should be taken into account for the design of future policy.
Yes, but Baudouin, could they participate to the setting of the solution within the policy? It's not only about giving your views or opinion, etc. Is it possible? Is there a place in the shaping of the policy to include young people for doing things?
There is a place, but it's not, as we speak, not working, in my view, sufficiently well. And we will maybe speak later on the famous EU youth test. I don't know whether you are aware of that. This is a concept proposed by the European Youth Forum, which is basically that when the Commission is preparing a legislative proposal on whatever, and that is important, whatever, because we are doing that, we are involving the youth when we propose a new program for Erasmus, for instance. It's obvious. But if we prepare an initiative on energy policy, for instance, we are not necessarily taking into account the impact of our proposal on the youth and on the next generations. So what the European Youth Forum is asking is that for all policy initiatives, we consult the youth specifically, and if we identify that there are some impact on the youth, we analyze in detail the impact in what we call the impact assessment that is preparing the proposal, contemplating different options. And if during this exercise we identify that the best option at EU level would be the option A, but that this option implies that certain negative impact on the youth will be generated, we should also identify mitigating measures in our proposal so that the impact is less negative or not negative at all on the youth. And all that should be organized in such a way that the youth can follow the process. So transparency is very important to see whether we have really taken into account that and that suggestion, solutions. And if we didn't, we should explain why. That is what the impact assessment is about. And I must say, when you look at what we call the better regulation framework, so the system to prepare initiative, you see that there are some things regarding the youth, but to be honest with you, it is not systematically applied today, and we should do more on that.
Okay, and we are just talking about trust, building trust
exactly.
with all the generations. Thank you, Baudouin. Boris, Arte's commitment go beyond the digital and the media borders. Since you recently experienced the second edition of the International Festival in France, which is called Et Maintenant, and now for young people, and dedicated for the ideas for tomorrow. What lesson do you draw from this festival on the representation of youth, and how can this festival become a support to break this intergenerational? It's so difficult for me because, yeah. Yes, you can say that? Okay. No. Intergenerational gap by cooperating more with young people, maybe in the building of the next festival, for instance.
Well, actually...
Yes, it's working?
Yes, it's working. Yeah, very young. Actually, the festival is really new in the way we conceive it, because first of all, there is a questionnaire, and we ask between 80 to 120 questions to young people mainly, but it's open to everybody. And we had this year 80,000 answers, which means 80,000 people who answered, and it means 5 million answers. Good.
Huge.
And it's interesting because it's both a sociological questionnaire and also a zeitgeist questionnaire. So we made it. It was dark times because we made it in February this year. But what is interesting is that for us it's a way of perceiving what the young people are thinking, and to build the festival, to build the day of the festival, well, the day and a half of the festival, with, I won't say answers, but clues to the answers, and by using thinkers, writers, intellectuals to mix their answer with the questionnaire, and to be aware of the time. So that's the way we are building this festival, not as a descending festival from thinkers to people, but as a both going from the young people to the thinkers and from the thinkers to the young people. We are thinking about many things with the festival, because it's really interesting what we can do with a questionnaire. This year we did 15 debates in all over France and Germany, using the questionnaire as a tool to make bridges between people. I mean, when you answer a question, maybe one of the questions was, for example, if another country invades your country, what will you do? Will you resist? Will you flee? Will you adapt? And, well, everybody answered with his opinion, but what is interesting is, okay, if you resist, what will you do at first? And then the discussion begins. Because in our times where discussions are complicated, where every discussion is polarized, where your opinion matters more than, I would say, something like a space for discussion, we think by asking questions, we are doing our media job, and we are creating space. 10 minutes left.
I don't care.
Okay, so I will stop in a minute.
We start at 25.
But what we think is that in order to listen to young people and to make bridges, we have to rethink the way the media is speaking to people. And it's complicated for us, it's complicated for everybody, because we need to be innovative in the forum. And last thing, we did it physically at La Maison de la Radio because of the digital age. The more we are digitalized, the more the physical experience seems very important to exchange ideas.
And do you plan to have some young people within the editorial committee for building the next festival, for instance?
Well, actually, we have young people in our committee, but we will, yeah. More.
Okay, thank you. Maëlle, cooperation needs to be taught, and school could play a key role in that. Do you think that pedagogical practices put in place by the national education system allow the voice of young people to be heard? What should be imagined?
I don't think it does. In French school, most of the lessons are taught with a top-down pedagogy. Basically, the teacher speaks and we students learn and listen and take notes and then learn them by heart. And in this way, the student is always in a listening position and not so often in a participative position. Here we are doing a very participative thing, and I'm not so used to it. So with Your Voice Counts, which is Ta Voix Compte in French, we did a project last year with Ashoka, and we tried to reverse this role. We went to high school in France and asked students, what would you like to see tomorrow in the society? What would you like to see in the programs of the candidates for the presidential election? What could be done for climate, for gender equality, for schools? And in less than 1 hour, they gave us a lot of ideas, a lot of propositions. And I think it's for 2 reasons. The first one is that the students were talking with each other and having a real debate and a collective brainstorming. And the second thing is that for once, someone told them, you can have relevant ideas, you can be useful, your ideas can be useful. They are not so used to hear that in school. We are not so used to hear that as young people. And I'm convinced that the French school can be better if we create more spaces like this, more moments dedicated to debate between the students and to encourage their thoughts to come out loud.
And I have another question for you in the audience. Another true or false. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. So let's play. True or false? 35% of kids entering elementary school will do a job that does not exist yet. Is it true? Please raise your hand if it's true. Do you think it's false? Okay, great. Indeed. It's more. It's 56%. So it's very interesting to see what could be the education system, make sure that we can prepare young people to the next society. Maybe academic background is not enough, so maybe soft skills in education need to be taught, maybe to face those challenges. Victor, we have to finish, I'm sorry, because we have many, many questions, but I'm sure that a lot of people in this room will continue to have a fantastic discussion with you. Could you say something to conclude this session? What could be the best word to say to people in the room, making sure that we can break this intergenerational gap?
Wow. What I wanted to say maybe is this. We as young people, and I'm going to talk from my experience with, for example, Ashoka, when we start to understand what is happening with the climate crisis and the ecological crisis, because we talk a lot about climate, but not enough about biodiversity, which is as important. We start to understand that we need to rethink every single thing in our lives. From the food we eat to the place we go to the jobs we work in, and this thing that a lot of young people feel is this idea that we're powerless, that we're doomed, that it's just too much for us. And for this, there are two things for me. The first one is to really understand the situation, that we're not doomed. There will not be a green button and a red button in 2050 saying that we lost or we won. It's either we can go to plus 2 degrees, we can do plus 3 degrees, plus 4 degrees, and every time it's going to get worse. As a climate scientist, or as a climate student, in ecology, we see the wildfires, for example, and a scenario of plus 2 degrees Celsius and a scenario of plus 3 degrees Celsius. With a plus 3 degrees Celsius, we multiply by 2 the surfaces of burnt areas of wildfires. So it's not about a question of are we doomed or not? No, it's how bad do we want the situation to be? We're currently heading towards a plus 4 degrees Celsius climate scenario, and we can reduce this. Maybe we cannot go to 1.5, we cannot go to 2 degrees. We're going to fight to have at least 2 degrees. But every single thing we do, we can do it. So that's the first thing for youth. We are not doomed. We can go a lot. Everything we do is good. And the second one is, for example, and with Ashoka, this is what we felt as a young activist. Sometimes we feel like we're not legitimate to talk about these issues. We don't know if we know anything about the world, and then we have people from other generations that just come to you and just say that, yeah, it is true. You need to speak up and you need to talk about this, and this is what we did with Your Voice Counts. And it's really important to include the young generation, especially for both of us, like other generation that has a lot to learn from us, and this new vision, and the fact that we're talking about rethinking things, and I feel like the youth has a lot of imagination, so we need to use this. But we as young people, we do need you guys to also to see what we can do and actually how we can do it. There's a lot of prejudice about the European Commission, about companies, and I'm not saying that companies are doing great things. There are a lot of bad things, but I think we really need to understand how it works so that we can use our energy, especially as young people. We have a lot of energy and sometimes to put in this transformation. We just need things to do, and a lot of young people just feel powerless because they don't know what to do, and so we need to work together for this.
Thank you, Victor. Well, we have 3 minutes left, so I have another question for you. A last, true or false, if you're ready, and maybe Gilles, you can add something with this true or false. 40% of Ashoka fellows first join someone else's initiative to create a solution to a social problem before the age of 21. Is it true or is it false? True, you say true? True? Yes, raise your hand. You are sleeping? No. Okay, false? Okay, and it's really more, because it's 68%. It's just to show you the correlation between the way of changing the system and the way we are young. So maybe, Gilles, you can add something about that, but I give you the microphone, you're on. This one is
The question is, how do we support this first impact that these people would like to have? About the previous question, is not new. I'm engineer in electronic. All my life, I was vice president of sustainability, and the word sustainability didn't exist when I was at school. It's something which is normal. And if that is true for the youth, it's true for all the generations. Because if we consider today that many youth students, when they are at school, they will have a job very different than the job that they prepare. The people who are today at work, when they are 30, 50, in 10 years, they will have a job very different. In Schneider Electric, we build a program, the name is Future Ready, to ask each of our 150,000 employees what you would like to do in 10 years. And how can we support you to have the job which is very important for you and key for the company, because it's better to train the people to change their skills and to keep the people, because we know that in the coming years in OECD countries that will be difficult to have human resources, than to say, okay, now you don't have the good skills and we would like to change. First thing. Second thing, I think we have to take care in this discussion is not the youth against the other. We are not organizing a battle. The reality is different today than in the past. In the past, our societies were in growth, and in this time, we had a lot of places for many, many people, the newcomer too. Because now we are not in growth, and the people continue to work for a long time, it's very difficult to share the leadership, the power, and so on. But what is leadership? I'm sure leadership is not to privatize what I have. It's an ability to share. And the vision that we have, and we try to have in Schneider Electric, and when we share with the youth, certainly we will be more innovative for the future, more efficient to have new solutions, and better to face the reality that we have to face in the future. It's not a question of responsibility. I love to say we are very responsible and so on, and that is true. But it's a question of efficiency. I'm sure we have to change the vision in our companies and perhaps in the society. We don't want to give new positions, power, ability to speak to the youth because we are responsible and we consider that it's good to do that. Because it's efficient to do that. Because the future is not to prepare the future for the youth, it's to prepare with the youth the future. And again, because they are innovative. It's only a change of the mindset to be sure that we are together in an intergenerational situation.
Thank you so much. I hope that it was clearer for you that cooperation is key between all the generations. That's it. And it's the end of this session. Thank you so much for my great panelists, well-known worldwide now. I hope so for you, because it was broadcast with the live stream. Thank you so much. And we can applaud, I think.